says he was injured, but he just wants an apology from the U.S. Coast Guard, and he's speaking out as a warning to other Canadians.
I want the people to know and to beware. Stay away from the border, even if it's 500, 600 feet away.
This isn't just another border incident. It's a clear sign that things have changed, even on the waterways. When you have CBP and now the U.S. Coast Guard operating with a zero-tolerance mode, you know something's off. It's like they're just looking for a fight. What he went through isn't right. Let's get into the video.
I'm never going to be the same. You see, it comes and goes. I can't stop it.
Edouard Lallemand is still very emotional when he talks about what happened on Sunday evening. Lallemand was out fishing near Venise en Quebec. The water connects to Lake Champlain in the U.S. But Lallemand says he knows for certain he was on the Canadian side.
I'm seeing them. They're coming towards me. And I know in my heart, I'm in Canada. I said, you can't do nothing to me.
The boat that was approaching, he says, was the U.S. Coast Guard. They asked him to turn off his engine. He complied. They told him he was in U.S. territory.
No, I'm very sorry. I'm in Canada. And I said, you know, I'm polite enough to talk to you guys, but you cannot arrest me. You can't come across the border and pick me up. They did.
Lallemand says,
there's one part of this I really need to speak on. I grew up on the waterways. Fishing has always been part of my life. A few years ago, my family and I went on a fishing trip. This time we hired a charter out of Sydney on the island. It was a great trip. There was one thing the fishing guy was crystal clear about. We're not going east of Sydney Island. That was the no-go zone. Why? Because once you're out on the water, the Canada-US border isn't always obvious, unless you're using a GPS. It can turn into a guessing game. Depending on which side you're on, it's your word against theirs. That's how tight the rules are now.
He started his engine and tried to make his way further into Canada, but he says the Coast Guard followed and tried pushing him into the U.S. Eventually, his boat capsized. Lallemand was in the water and says he was drowning.
You know what they're doing? They're tying to my boat to their boat. They're not even taking care of me. Not at all. I'm the one that told them. The third time I went down, coming out with water in my mouth, spitting it out, I said, throw me a buoy.
He says he was handcuffed on the U.S. Coast Guard boat and eventually turned over to Border Patrol. He was detained and placed in a holding cell without a proper explanation, he says.
I said, are you arresting me? No, sir, you're detained. I said, detained for what? I said, you arrest me. I didn't do nothing to you guys. I didn't even hit you guys.
In a statement to CTV News, the U.S. Coast Guard says the operator was informed that he was in U.S. Customs waters. While the Coast Guard's 29-foot response boat was alongside the vessel, the operator put the vessel in motion and ignored commands to maintain course and speed for boarding purposes. The vessel then made an abrupt turn and struck the port bow of the Coast Guard. They go on to say that Lallemand boat capsized and he ended up in the water.
Now I know some of you may not agree with me on this, but I don't think this guy helped his case by trying to flee back to Canada. If it were me, I would have stayed put, checked my GPS, and verified my coordinates, just to confirm whether I was in the Canadian waters or US waters. If it turns out I was in the US, I'd own it and apologize for drifting over the line. Now sure, I'd probably be questioned for hours, but once you're in contact with the border agents, trying to flee mid-conversation doesn't really help your situation. This is what I would have done.
But the Coast Guard promptly recovered him. He was eventually transferred to U.S. Border Patrol custody, and the Coast Guard says the actions of the operator of the Canadian vessel are currently under investigation.
We treat our pets better than they treated him.
After hours in a cell, Lallemand was released.
When I saw him coming from the Canadian Customs, and he was flabbergasted. I mean, I've never seen him like that. We've been together for a very long time. He's like a beaten man.
He says he was injured, but he just wants an apology from the U.S. Coast Guard, and he's speaking out as a warning to other Canadians.
I want the people to know and to beware. Stay away from the border, even if it's 500, 600 feet away from it.
I really feel for this guy. No one deserves to go through something like that. My advice is you need to be more than 500 feet from the border. During my last fishing trip with my family, we stayed at least 2 kilometers away. And that was when Biden was in office. Now, I'm not putting the blame on this guy because we all know how questionable U.S. law enforcement is these days. So he could have legitimately been in Canada. I hope this guy recovers from his trauma. Please hit the like and subscribe to help spread this message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.